Hello everybody and welcome back to Juno New Origins, where we are nearly done designing our Deep Space Probe upgrade, and this is definitely an upgrade in a lot of ways, including the cost. The cost is increased fairly significantly, although it's not, enormously significant, but it is up there for sure. So we did want to extend these tanks slightly. I'm going to take this up to, I think we already extended it somewhat, but I'm going to take this up to 8 meters, and let's see how that feels. Our starting thrust to weight is 2.22x. That should be absolutely fine. So let's put this here. We've got a fair amount of thrust to weight headroom here, so that seems fine. We can just have that burn take us a little bit further. So of course we still need to pause here, but we're going to put this right at about 70 because we need to pause because we're launching this in the water and we need to launch basically immediately. But we do have a little bit of preparatory work first. So we need to be draining these tanks out over here, and we need to be filling this tank. Throttle up and ignite engines, and off we go. Excellent. This is very close. It's draining slightly faster from the SRBs, though. Maybe that's okay. We'll see what our thrust to weight ends up being like. But for now, I'm reasonably content with this. Okay, so Apoapsis is about 10 kilometers right now. We're just waiting for that to go up a bit further. We're about to lose our SRBs here. And yeah, you can definitely see that we have a little bit more liquid fuel than we have solid fuel at this moment. I want to bring us over to a 45-degree pitch. These SRBs are going to be burnt out shortly. Right now. Okay, checking thrust to weight. Thrust to weight is still good. Okay, 2, 1, 0, and off they go. Fantastic. So now the question is, how far does this get in pushing us up to orbital velocity with that added fuel? We'll find out. We're at about a 50-kilometer apoapsis at this time. I'm going to drop us down to a pitch of about 10 degrees. Watching this time to apoapsis, and we're down to about 50% fuel. So that is absolutely noted. This stage, not going to deliver us all the way to orbit, but it also doesn't necessarily have to. It just has to get us up high enough that this stage can get us there. But I'd prefer it if it did get us to orbit. That would be preferential. Okay, so this is a little bit undershot here. What are we burning right now? Is this engine active? It sounds like it's active. I don't think it actually is. There's something broken about our staging, isn't there? Are ion engines active? Yeah, our ion engines are active. Okay, that's going to be a significant problem. That means, of course, that we're going to have to pull this back and change our staging. I wonder how that got flipped around. Okay, well, let's hop in here. That, of course, means that, yeah, this staging up here is a little bit broken. So these engines do not fire all at once. We've got multiple interstages here, so we need a stage here. This interstage happens here, and these ion engines should all be up here for now. Like that. So then we've got all of this firing at the beginning, these fall off, and then we've got the Wyvern engine firing and this interstage, and then we've got this interstage and the ion engines, then this interstage and the landing engines, then the parachutes and the landing legs. That should be fine. However, I'm thinking about adding additional fuel for this engine. We have thrust to weight headroom, but I don't know about delivering. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to add this. I have a feeling this stage is going to be very underpowered, but if that's the case, we could increase the number of stages here. That's a theoretical option. So with that being the case, I'm not going to put engines out here. This is only going to be fuel drop tanks. So at 90 degrees, we're going to do this. And then I'm also going to do a hemisphere out here like that. And then we could have either 2 or 4 of these. For the time being, I'm thinking 2. And that'll add a lot of additional mass, or rather additional fuel for this particular engine. So that's fine. I want to make sure that this is allowed to fuel transfer. And we'll see how that ends up going. Should be interesting. So we're definitely going to have some lower thrust to weight to start with, and this engine is going to get us a little less far. I want to see how that goes. We have the thrust to weight headroom, but I think the burn time is going to be the primary limiting factor there, shall we say. So let's fire up these engines, make sure that we throttle up. That would usually help. And we should also set the fuel transfer modes over here. So we'll do that and that. There we go. And I just staged it again, I think. No? No, we're good. I hit the spacebar, but I don't think it actually did anything. So that's good. So the frame rate is not the best with these here. If we took this up to 4 stages, the frame rate would absolutely tank, and I'd probably consider replacing all of these engines. I'd probably consider making this be a fully liquid-fueled stage at that point, to be honest. Okay, so the ramp down has begun for the SRBs. That looks fine for now, and we're just going to continue punching up for the moment. The apoapsis, I think I'm going to let the apoapsis get a little higher than it did before. So previously we went down to 45 at 20. I'm going to do it at 30. I want to get a little bit more altitude out of this. So we got to get rid of these side tanks. There they go. And we're just going to continue to hold here. Thrust to weight is definitely lower. There's no doubt about that. So that's 30 kilometers there. Let's bring this over to a 45-degree pitch. And we're going to burn here for a while. We'll see. I want to make sure that this is methylox, which it is. Perfect. It absolutely should have been. There's no reason that shouldn't be methylox. And we are going east. Okay, just wanted to double check that. Looks absolutely fine for right now. Orbital velocity, a little low. That's for sure. Okay, so we're about out of fuel here. Well, that's awkward. Okay. That's very awkward. I should have checked that. That's my own fault. We just carried all that mass for absolutely no reason with that staging like that. So yeah, we need to move these side interstages up to their own stage here. That's what that needs to be. Which didn't actually do what I thought it was going to do. Hang on. We need a stage here. I grabbed the wrong stage. Okay. Side interstages go here. These go here. There we go. This now looks correct. Yeah, that's as expected. So we could think about increasing the power of this stage, and the way that I would go about doing that is by ditching these tanks, duplicating this engine, which is going to be fairly expensive, bringing this down to about here, and putting this on like that, approximately. That apparently increased the radius down here. The radius is 1 meter here. And for some reason that bumped up our radius here, but we can go to like that. That's 0.99 meters. I guess we can make it go up ever so slightly to like 1.05 meters or something like that. And you can see the price on this basically just doubled. However, our thrust to weight is a little bit better. Hypothetically. 1.03, huh? That's not much thrust to weight. It really, really isn't. I wonder if we could get cheaper engines in here, though. This is Carolox, right? Let's see here. Yeah, Carolox. So we could probably get some cheaper engines here. We are currently utilizing the... this is currently the Mage engine. And we could have some Mage engines here that are a little bit cheaper. So the idea behind that... What do we got going on here? Why did that not duplicate? Okay. So the idea behind that would be, I'd like to move this down a little bit more like this. We're looking to have these be cheaper, but assisting with the thrust to weight. So I would like these to not really be gas generator exactly. So the cheapest form here would be probably electric, right? Or actually pressure fed would be the cheapest. But I don't know that pressure fed, yeah, this pressure fed would not be ideal. So I'm thinking electric for right now. This would be 0.89x, but I'm not sure what the staging here is. So we would want this to be Delta, Liquid, Carolox. That's all fine. Nozzle length of 100. I'd like to bump up the throat size to maximum. And you can see here, this is a fair amount cheaper than what we had previously, but it's not going to be fantastic thrust to weight. Let's check the staging here. And we can definitely bring these down to be like there or so. That's interesting. Apparently there were two of them in there. Well, that's fine. We can do something like this for now, and that puts us at 1.23 because there were two fuel tanks. That's going to cause significant issues. Okay, checking staging here. Why are the parachutes in this stage? Parachutes should be up here. Okay. Engines, interstage, interstage, engines. Those interstages, interstage and engines. These interstages, and these three engines. Yes, that should be correct. Starting thrust to weight, still a little bit on the low side. We could ramp that up by increasing the overall size of this engine a little bit. I think I'm going to keep it about there. Okay, are we too tall? No, looks good. So this is going to be low thrust to weight off of the water, and that's understood. My main question is, what kind of a thrust to weight will it get to eventually? Right? So let's find out. It will definitely be much higher performance in terms of like the game's frame rate. So that's, you know, convenient. So let's put it about there. Let's launch this and let's see how it flies. We can always bump this up to 4 of these side tanks if we feel like it's necessary. That will cost money, but it is a thing that we can do. So we would do something like that. Okay, we have parts taking over expansion damage. That's these guys. Noted. So their nozzle is incorrect. We're going to need to do something about that. They're currently optimized to be run at a higher altitude. So that definitely, these are intended to be run at sea level. We should pull that back. Let's make some alterations here. So the nozzle length is 100%. I would very much like to, 1.1 here. If we drop this down, that would put us at 1.12. That would also mean that we could potentially add in a little bit of additional fuel up here, something about like that or so, which is interesting for sure. So we could also potentially bump up the size of these to about 120, like that. So that puts us at 1.18 thrust to weight. It's not ideal, but it will do the trick in theory. Let's see how it feels. Okay. So in we go here, throttle up, move this over to 70. I should really have these be transferring via the internal transfer system, but whatever, this'll do. And we can do something like that, fire the engines, and off we go. Okay, so no overexpansion damage this time. Thrust to weight is building itself up. Okay. We could definitely consider taking this to quad. It'll increase the cost, for sure, but not tremendously. Our thrust to weight is definitely a core issue here. And you can see that there is some fuel leakage here, and by leakage, I mean we're not quite transferring at maximum speed through here. So taking this to 3 or 4 boosters would absolutely assist in this regard. So thrust to weight is making its way up to about 1.8, which is okay. Thrust to weight is the main concern. 1.9. And now 2. So what's our current altitude? Or our current apoapsis? Not as high as I'd like to see, that's for sure. So we're about to lose these side boosters. Okay, and off they go. So that's definitely not ideal, right? And our thrust to weight drops when they fall away because we lose those engines. At this point, we can definitely be putting ourselves at about a 45-degree pitch. Our apoapsis definitely needs to continue to come up, though. So right now, our main issue is absolutely thrust to weight. We could ramp up those engines quite significantly by making them not be pressure fed, by making them, well, basically making them duplicates of this engine here. That is absolutely something that we could do. But I don't really think it's a great concept. What we need right now is more thrust to weight, and that kind of means more of these boosters. Because I don't want to have the cost of this engine. This engine is 4.4 million. That's very significant. But if we took this up to radial X4, like that, we could even take this up to radial X4 as well, up here. And this starting thrust to weight is 0.95. So this up to radial X4 is net negative. That's noted. Okay. So we can keep this at X2 for right now, and that would put us at 1.04. That means that each of these are actually net negative. So these engines are not powerful enough to lift just this stack, is what that means. So we will need to boost these engines up a little bit in their power level. They are electrically fed at this moment, and I mentioned earlier that they were pressure fed. That's incorrect. Let's bring these up to 150%, and that also means that we're going to have to drop down a bit the amount of fuel here. So we would set that to be about like that, because we can't get any taller on this rocket, right? So we're going to have to reduce the fuel by a little bit, and that'll boost up our thrust to weight to 1.3. And that'll also mean that each of these tanks is going to drain a little bit more slowly, because we're going to be draining from 4 tanks instead of from 2. So that means that that center core is going to be pulling less fuel from each tank because there's 4 of them. So that's absolutely fine. So we're going to drain here and here and here and here. So this means overall a significantly longer burn time at a similar level of thrust to weight, right? That's what that means. So let's go ahead and fire these engines and see how that feels. I'm going to put this in 2x here. So this is at twice the speed of the previous launch. And let's see where this puts us at. I'm also a bit concerned about booster blowback here, so we'll keep an eye on that. So this is currently at about 6 kilometers, 7, 8, and that thrust to weight is definitely building up nicely. So this is definitely a more viable design here. Okay, we're down to about 25% fuel on these SRBs, and we should be at about 45-degree pitch at this time. I'm going to take us down to 1x. Thrust to weight is up over 3 right now. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and engine power down on those boosters, and off they go. So at this point, our apoapsis is looking good. I want to drop ourselves down to a complete 0-degree pitch, and we want to be building up lateral speed. However, we know that this lateral speed not going to be enough to get us to orbit. That's okay. That's what these fuel tanks here are for, is the idea. So this booster stage is going to push us as far as it possibly can, and note how our altitude is getting up quite high at this point. So that... And our apoapsis is pushing 90 right now. Okay, I'm fairly content with this right now then. So we're going to have to stage here. And now we can see thrust to weight of 0.58, 0.59. I'm wondering, okay, we are definitely pulling from the outer tanks here, so setting the fuel flow here did work. That looks good. And you can see it's not calculating our stage DV correctly here, but our stage DV should be pretty okay. So we're going to have to accelerate up quite a lot from here. Now, our time to apoapsis ticking downward, and we've got a long ways to go on this orbital velocity. No doubt about that. So this Wyvern engine is definitely doing some work here, but the question is, at this point, just how much work is it doing? Is it going to be enough to kick us up into orbit? Because we're going to need quite a lot more than that, likely. We can take it up to 6 on the bottom boosters. That's a possibility. We can always do that. The main question is it necessary? And I'm thinking the answer to that is yes. I'm looking at that time to apoapsis approaching here. We're 15 seconds away, and we're still a kilometer per second short. So we clearly need a much longer boost burn. So that's understood. Our thrust to weight here, it's creeping upwards. It doesn't really matter, though, if we get this further with our boosters. So that pretty much means, as I said, taking this up to 6x. I'm not going to increase the amount of fuel here at this time, but if we did this and also enable fuel crossfeed here, that should do the trick right there. Now you'll note our thrust to weight down a little bit, but this will be a longer burn time for each of them, and it's a broadly similar thrust to weight. Our thrust to weight was actually not that big of an issue. So let's give this a go. We shouldn't have to set up fuel transfer at this time. No, don't lock velocity retrograde. I want to be at 90 degrees east, and then a pitch of 70. There we go. We'll light up these engines, throttle up, and over we head. Cool. So you can see a little bit overexpanded here still on these electrically fed engines, but our battery shouldn't be a problem, and we should be, yeah, full fuel here and draining fuel from each of these. And that will happen even more slowly. So we boosted up the power of this stage by not so much increasing its thrust to weight, as these are roughly neutral in their thrust to weight, but more that we increase the burn times. So this is, instead of draining from 4 for this, it's now draining from 6. So that's additional fuel. Longer burn time. So that'll be absolutely fine for now. Our apoapsis is looking okay. We're at about 20 kilometers. Let's drop this guy right on over to a 45-degree pitch. We're already quite a lot further along. I like it. 25% fuel left in these side boosters. And the apoapsis is looking pretty decent. I'm dropping us down to a 15-degree pitch. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 separation. And at this point, we should be at full 0 degree. And yeah, our apoapsis is looking very good here. Okay, so at this point, this is going to get drained pretty quickly, and we know that, but our surface velocity definitely a fair amount higher than it was previously. We could definitely soup this up a little bit more, but we're approaching the limits of this design at this time. So that got us to about 2,500 meters per second with about 2.2 minutes to apoapsis. Okay, well, let's go ahead and go on 2x, and let's see how this goes. The game is confused about how much DV we have in this stage, but that's fine. This is electrically fed, so we definitely want to have our solar panels extended at this time. I don't think we're going to be net positive on our solar panels, but we've got lots of battery in this, so that should be fine. So taking a look at this, let's look here. Really? Time to apoapsis is increasing. That's a really good sign. I think we just got it. Well, I don't think that. I know we just got it. We just got it. So let's just continue burning here up until like 150, I think. And then we'll circularize from there. So 140, and we could go even higher than that if we really wanted to. Honestly, we could go as high as we wanted to here. We could take this up to 500. We could take it up to 1,000. We could take it wherever we wanted. So yeah, let's just continue burning here for now, and let's put this up to about 500, I think. So this is 300. And this is just, it's going to be exponential. So this is fine. 400. And 500 kilometers would be right... that's close. We're not quite there. That's 500. How are we doing on this fuel? We've got about 30% left in these drop tanks. That's perfect. This is exactly what we intended these to do. So then we can circularize here, hypothetically, by doing something like... Sure, this is close enough. There we go. So 193 meters per second there. I like it. And how are we doing on battery? Well, we're at 94%, so we're definitely going to have to take some time to recharge our batteries every now and then, but this is absolutely wonderful. So we're currently showing as having about 1.03 kilometers per second in this, and we're going to have a little bit more than that. So as long as this stage gets us to a solar orbit, I'm going to be reasonably happy with that. The next major question is going to be braking burns, right? So once we get to the destination burns, how are the ion engines going to do for being able to brake that? Because that's going to be a time-limited factor. I don't know. We'll see. For the time being, it's time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we're going to take this on a bit of a trial run, and we're going to see just how far this gets. Oh, we didn't even include fuel up here. Never mind, I'm going to pull this back, then. We should definitely have fuel up top there. This will reduce the performance of our bottom stages a little bit, but I think it should be reasonably fine. I think. We'll run a test of that next episode, and we'll see about getting this thing, hopefully, out to one of the big planets to see if we have a braking issue. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Andy McGard, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.